Good afternoon. Good afternoon. This is Charles Coachman, and this is Bay Area Let's Talk Music. Music on, world off. Had a crazy last week. So I am glad to be back on here and enjoying some of the music. And we got a lot to cover today because I've got a lot of things that I didn't cover last week, and I want to just step through those because we had some big birthdays that came up in the last 5 days. So I want to make sure that I cover that. But I want to mention some birthdays first off, and that is happy birthday to Cheryl for Eisenhower. Cheryl is a business owner, a business leader, a speaker on business and life, and an author. She does it all. Cheryl, happy birthday to you. And then this young lady, Jen Baylor. Jen is a realtor here in the South Bay, a terrific realtor here in the South Bay. She is also SCORE, that's the Santa Clara County Association of Realtors, YPN representative to the state. And she may be president of the YPN locally here. So Jen, happy birthday to you. Cheryl, happy birthday to you. And if it is your birthday out there, wishing you a very, very happy birthday. All right, let's see. I want to make sure that I mention the companies that we are using, and that is the Grow Live Academy. Grow Live Academy, Ken Wall's company, and you want to check that out this morning. As a matter of fact, Ken had Kenneth Starr on his Breakthrough Walls program. It was a great interview. It's out there. Take a look at it on Facebook. It was an excellent interview. So, hey, hats off to you, Ken. But check out the Grow Live Academy. You want to make sure that you do that. And then the next company is StreamYard.com. That's the company that we are using to go live. So check out StreamYard.com. It makes going live as simple as you want it to be. And then Hippo Video. Hippo Video is a way that you can record a message, attach it to an email, and your clients and friends, when they get it, they don't have to upload, they don't have to download. They just press play and you are ready to go. You are ready to go. All right. Just want to talk for a moment here. Let's see. And I don't have it up yet. But this is Bay Area Let's Talk Music. I am Charles Coachman. You can reach me at 408-439-0766 or at bayarea.letstalk@gmail.com. Bay Area Let's Talk @gmail.com. And then you can find my music. And I want to make sure I can get this out there. What's happening here? You can find videos that I post and memes at Soundtrack of My Life Facebook page. Now they're changing some things up, but Soundtrack of My Life Facebook page, you can find that here. And then I just wanted to mention, and I want to make sure that I get this down here because it's not in here as yet. On Friday, this upcoming Friday, we are going to have a special guest. And that is going to be the sister of Frank Zappa. Friday special guest. And her name is Patrice Zappa Porter. Patrice Zappa Porter. She is a singer herself. She is an author. She was married to a singer named Nolan Porter. And of course, she was the sister of Frank Zappa. So we're going to cover everything about her life. Well, we're going to cover as much as we can. Talk about her husband's career, and then also what it was like growing up with Frank Zappa. Check it out. Frank Zappa was an amazing entertainer. He made great music. He was hilarious. He was also a very serious person when it came down to people's rights and the right to do their music. And so there is a lot to talk about with Patrice about this. So Patrice Zappa Porter, she'll be our guest on Friday afternoon at 3. Special guest, and I want to make sure that I get that up there because this is I'm psyched because when I was in high school, Frank Zappa put out an album called Apostrophe, and it is something that I just loved, and it was actually his biggest charting album of his career. Now, he put out a ton of great music, and he fought with the record companies, and he did things his way for the most part. But he was an amazing musician, and heck, he was out there, but his music was great, and he was one of the best guitarists ever. He is not really listed in the top guitarists, but I think he has been written up, and I can't remember who nominated or where he was at, but he may have been the 30th best guitarist. He's incredible. But he was, he was born back east, but he moved out to the West Coast. So he is a West Coast guy, and he put out some terrific music. So again, we're going to be talking with Patrice Zappa Porter. And I'm thrilled about that. I want to make sure I get that up there. And let's see if we can do that. We're going to save that. And we're just going to put that up there. Friday special guest. Want to make sure that we get that up there. And I look forward to it. I had an opportunity to speak with her earlier today. And I am grateful that she has agreed to join us. Because there's going to be some interesting stories. If you know Frank Zappa, then this was an interesting guy, and I'm thrilled. And by the way, I want to thank Jay Skinner for sending me the name to reach out because I wasn't familiar with her. And I told her that. I said, look, I had no idea. I said, but I'm grateful for this. So it'll be cool. We'll have some fun. All right. Let's see who we got up here. Scott Ricard. Hey, Charles. I hope you're having a good day. Scott, I am having a good day. Just trying to muddle my way through this day. Robert Brooker, our friend out of Toronto. Robert Brooker, so good to see you. And then, hey, Robert, I want to make sure that Robert, thank you for joining us. Now, let's get on because I want to cover a bunch of birthdays over the last few days and then some of the headlines over the last, I think, about 5 days. And I won't be able to be here on Wednesday, so I want to cover some of this and get us going. Going back to June 10th, Chester Burnett. Chester Burnett. Probably don't know him by that name, but anyone that followed music and followed the blues knows the name Howlin' Wolf. Howlin' Wolf, born on this day born on June 10th in 1910. And he passed away January 10th, 1976. But Howlin' Wolf, that name is synonymous with the blues. And a lot of our rock and roll came around because of this man's music. He had a lot of influence on the rockers of the 60s, 70s, up until this day. 1922, on June 10th, Judy Garland was born. Judy Garland was named, if I am not mistaken, she was named the Entertainer of the Century. And I can't remember it. Oh, no, her song, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, was named the Song of the Century. So, Judy Garland, sorry that you passed away so early, but a belated happy birthday to you. Shirley Owens, singer with the Shirelles, born on this date in 1941, June 10th. Jimmy Chamberlin, drummer with the Smashing Pumpkins, born on June 10th, 1964. June 11th, Joseph DiNicola, vocalist with Joey and the Starlighters, had a 1962 #1 hit with the Peppermint Twist. One of the members of that band was Jimi Hendrix. He played with them during 1964. So Jimi Hendrix was part of that band. So happy birthday, Joseph. Glenn Leonard, vocalist with the Temptations, born on this date in 1947, June 11th, 1947. And of course, they had Just My Imagination and My Girl. Of course, they had many other hits, but those were a couple of their biggest. And in 1949, on June 10th, Frank Beard, appropriate name, Frank Beard, drummer was ZZ Top. And of course, they've had plenty of hits over their long careers. But they had a big hit in probably 1985 with Legs. So Legs, born on this date in 1941, June 12th, 1941, Chick Corea, who was a jazz musician, and he has played with all sorts of people. He has played up and down the Bay Area for years and years and years. 1943, on June 12th, Reg Presley. Reg Presley was the vocalist of the Troggs. Who are the Troggs? Wild Thing. Think about Wild Thing. And then he also wrote the song Love Is All Around, which in the UK was #1 for 15 weeks. It's a huge song. Huge song. Brad Delp, guitarist and vocalist with Boston. Of course, they had some big hits in the 70s. More Than a Feeling. Huge. Huge. That first album of Boston was got to be amongst the best albums ever. And certainly one of the best albums of the 1970s. 1951, on June 12th, Bunny Carlos. Bun E. Carlos. Guitarist. Well, I shouldn't say guitarist. He was a drummer with Cheap Trick. He was their original drummer. And he was a cool dude. I loved him. Now I think he has been replaced by the lead guitarist's son, maybe? I believe so. So, on this date in 1952, or June 12th, 1952, Peter Fardon, F-A-R-D-O-N, bass player with the Pretenders, one of my favorite bands of the 1970s. As a matter of fact, I just got to see what was left of the Pretenders, or their latest, what's the right word? Well, the latest band that is a Pretenders, but Chrissie Hynde leading it. Amazing. Still love them. Still love them. But Pete here was part of the group when they did Brass in My Pocket. He unfortunately died of a drug overdose on April 14th, 1983. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. Born on this date in 1949, Dennis LeCoureer, guitarist with Dr. Hook, who had a 1972 hit, was Sylvia's Mother. And then how about the cover of the Rolling Stone? Awesome. Awesome. Born on this date. Let's take a look here real quick. I'm in some sort of faceback gel. I'm unable to see other comments until I open another window and click on the comments, but not join them. Facebook gel. Facebook gel. Robert Brooker, I did not see you as the criminal type. But you know what? It happens to all of us. We say the wrong word. Oops. But we're not going to do that today. All right. Born on this date, 1945. So June 14th, 1945. Rod Argent. Rod Argent. Is that name familiar? Well, he was a keyboardist for the Zombies. Keyboardist for the Zombies. Huge hit. She's Not There. But they had so many other hits. They had so many other hits. But then they kind of went away. They went away. Nobody wanted to hear from them for whatever reason after they were one of the biggest bands of the 60s. So he took a good portion of the group and started a band named after him, Argent. And they had a huge hit, and I think it was 1973, 1972. Hold Your Head Up. Hold Your Head Up. And it was huge. Now, I got to see those guys I think it's been 4 years ago. Saw them in Santa Cruz. They were terrific. They were awesome. And it's a small club, the Catalyst. There were probably a couple hundred of us there. It was great. Enjoyed it. Immensely enjoyed it. Born on this date in 1961. 1961, Boy George. Boy George. Boy George. Speaking of somebody that might get popped off of Facebook, that would be Boy George. All right. Let's take a look, and let's go back a little bit. And we're going to take a look. We're going to call it This Week in Music. Joe Strummer and Nikki Heaton from The Clash were fined £5 for spray painting The Clash on a wall. £5. This week in 1978, John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John were #1 with the song You're the One That I Want from the movie Grease. You're the One That I Want. And Olivia Newton-John was nice. Nice. Addie Harris from the Shirelles on this date in 1982, or this week in 1982. Addie Harris from the Shirelles died of a heart attack after a show. The group had the #1 song, #1 single in 1961, Will You Love Me Tomorrow? Carole King and Jerry Goffin song. Will You Love Me Tomorrow? What a terrific song. This week in 1986, Jerry Garcia, the Grateful Dead, went into a 5-day diabetic coma. 5-day coma. They had to cancel their tour. The Grateful Dead had to cancel their tour. And it was just about a decade later that Garcia passed away. So that was a tough week. Now, speaking of a tough day, Temptation singer Eddie Kendricks was arrested while attending the funeral of another singer, David Ruffin, in Detroit. He was arrested because he owed $26,000 in back child support. They hauled his tail away to jail on the date of one of his friend's funerals. That's a bad day. That's a bad day. On this day in 2004, we lost one of the greatest entertainers of our lives. The Orbit Room is a club in Toronto where musicians go to enjoy music when they don't have a gig. It's perfect for bands to play flat out. That's awesome. That's awesome. I wonder if that's the club that Gordon Lightfoot talked about. I remember in his documentary that he was talking about a club, and I thought it was in Toronto, that he met all sorts of people in there when he was first getting started. But in 2004, Ray Charles died at the age of 73. One of the greatest entertainers and musicians of all time. And he was ahead of his time. Being a black entertainer back in the 50s and 60s, until the time that he passed away, he was still entertaining. So, oh man. Let's take a quick look here. On this day, well, on this week in 1966, The Rolling Stones started a 2-week run in the U.S. at #1 with the song Paint It Black. Paint It Black. Just got in. Go Coachman. Jay Skinner, I mentioned you earlier, and I'll mention you again. Thank you for Friday. Jay was able to connect me again with Patrice Zappa Porter, and so I look forward to talking with her, and I really appreciate it, Jay. That will be fun, and interesting, I'm sure. So thank you, Jay. Certainly appreciate it. All right. Now, let's take a look at the Beatles were #1 in 1969 on the UK charts with the Ballad of John and Yoko. How? The Ballad of John and Yoko. It became the group's 17th #1 single. 17th #1 single. In 1977, and you know what? I was around in 1977, I think. I didn't realize KC and the Sunshine Band was so huge. But they became only the second group after the Jackson 5 to achieve 4 U.S. #1s. Their fourth one, I'm Your Boogeyman. I'm Your Boogeyman. Hey, we were at the flat out disco time. So, disco, baby. Now, let's take a look this week. In 1965, the Supremes scored their 5th consecutive U.S. #1 single. Their 5th consecutive U.S. #1 single, Back in My Arms Again. Holy smokes, those ladies were awesome. Awesome. 1966, the Dave Clark Band made their record 12th appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show. If you were on the Ed Sullivan Show once, you made it. If you could hit the Ed Sullivan Show, you were destined for bigger things. 12 times. 12 times they were on there. Let's take a look. This week, in 1970, the Beatles started a 2-week run at #1 on the U.S. singles charts with The Long and Winding Road. To me, one of the greatest songs of all time. I just absolutely love it. I'm a huge Beatles fan, but this song was one of their top songs to me. I used to drive a windy road to our cabin in the mountains, and I would crank that thing up, and it was just awesome. 1972. This week in 1972, Clyde McPhatter, original lead vocalist with the Drifters, died of a heart attack in New York. That was back on June 13th, 1972. He was one hell of a singer. 1981, Smokey Robinson was #1 in the UK with Being With You. I think it was just a few years later, my wife and I went to see Smokey at the Mountain Winery here, and that guy was so smooth. He is just an incredible entertainer. Now, I would normally never mention Billy Ray Cyrus, but he started a 17-week run at #1 on the US album charts with Some Gave All. Some Gave All. You know what? Flag Day today. Flag Day today. This is where he fits in. Flag Day. And then in 1995, this week in 1995, Alanis Morissette, when she released her album, Jagged Little Pill, it sold 15 million copies. 15 million copies. Incredible. It also became a U.S. and Canadian #1 hit. Fun, fun, fun till her daddy took that T-Bird away. Yes. Yes, 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 Mr. Brooker. Elvis Presley, on this date, June 14th, on this date, Elvis Presley graduated from I.C. Holmes High School in Memphis. He had that cute little spit curl in his class picture. So Elvis, high school graduate. I think he was better well known, not as an army guy, but as one of the greatest singers of all time and entertainers, obviously. 1961, on June 14th, 1961, Patsy Cline was in a near fatal accident. She was in a car accident and got pushed out the front windshield, thrown through the windshield. She recovered, kept recording, but then she met her fate later. One of the greatest voices of all time. Just think about Crazy, Willie Nelson song. She was incredible. Now, wildest story that I think I've ever heard. Wildest. This is crazy. This is something that I would have thought kids would be doing today. 1964, 12-year-old Carol Dryden was discovered by a railroad worker packed in a tea chest on a station platform addressed to the Beatles. Who did this? 12-year-old packed away. She's lucky she didn't die. Oh my goodness. 12-year-old Carol Dryden was discovered by a railway worker. That is one of the craziest stories I have ever heard. And I've heard some wild stories about people doing things to meet people, but I think this takes the cake. But a 12-year-old, oh my, oh my. This date in 1970, Derek and the Dominoes played their first big gig in London. Derek and the Dominoes, Eric Clapton, had some pretty amazing songs. Just think of all the groups that Eric Clapton has been a part of. Just go back and take a look at his discography and see how many groups he has been a part of. It's been quite a few. 1974, this one always got me. Ray Stevens was number 1 on the UK single chart with The Streak, song after my own heart. Back in the day, possibly could have happened. The Streak, Ray Stevens. That was one of the funniest things and funniest times in my life ever. There was a lot of crazy stuff going on back in that time in the 70s. Here we were having the gas lines and all that kind of stuff. But all of a sudden, here comes Ray Stevens with The Streak. Funny as hell. Funny as all get out. 1980, Billy Joel started a 6-week run, number 1 on the U.S. album charts with Glass Houses. His second U.S. number 1 album. 1984, I think we already mentioned Boy George, born on this date. He had a wax figure released of him at Madame Tussauds. Madame Tussauds in London celebrating his 23rd birthday. 1986, think about this. Bob Geldof was named the Queen's Birthdays Honors List, receiving an honorary knighthood in recognition of his humanitarian activities. Think about what he did. Think about what he did in getting food for African nations and trying to feed the poor in Africa. What a huge, huge effort he put out. He was also one of the co-creators of the Live Aid concerts. So, Bob Geldof, formerly of the Boomtown Rats. Just an amazing guy, an amazing humanitarian. So, Bob Geldof, God bless you. This date in 1986, Patti LaBelle and Michael McDonald We're at number 1 on the U.S. singles chart. On My Own. On My Own. Great song. Great song. You want to talk about some smooth singing? That was it. I love Michael McDonald's voice. In combination with Patti LaBelle, doesn't get much better than that. 1994, a sad, sad day. Composer Henry Mancini, age 64, he had written the 1969 U.S. #1 single Love Theme from Romeo and Juliet, as well as TV and film themes, including the theme from the Pink Panther. I can't remember if Love is Blue was his too, but he did some amazing music. And he died young, 64 years old. Holy smokes, much too young. On this date in 1995, a guitar hero, Rory Gallagher, died from an infection from a liver transplant. Couldn't recover from it, and it took him out. So, and all of us have recently lost a friend from pretty much the same thing. So, Rory Gallagher, rest in peace. And then I'm going to end with this. In 2002, Mick Jagger, this is a great thing, became a Sir when he was knighted in the Queen's Birthdays Honors List. Sir Mick Jagger. I want to thank you guys all for being here. Please tune in on Friday. Let's take a look. I want to make sure that we have this back out here, and we're going to announce this and put it out there. Special guest on Friday, Patrice Zappa Porter. Thank you, Jay Skinner. We're going to have some fun with her. She was a fun person to speak with today, and I look forward to joining her. So, music on, world off. Have a great day. I look forward to seeing you Friday at 3 p.m., 6 Eastern. Have a great day, and we'll see you later.